Hey Legionnaires, Steve Cox here with you from High Tech Legion, and I have a little bit something special for myself and for you. This is the ASUS Maximus VI Formula motherboard for the LGA 1150 Intel socket. Comes with just about everything you could ever want in a motherboard. Has Ultra HD 4K built right in. Of course, it supports SLI and three-way Crossfire. It's only two-way SLI. It has Intel LAN using the Intel connection L217V, and again the 1150 socket. We're going to get it over here on the table, take a good look at the box, and then take a really good look at the motherboard itself. See all the features and functionality of the motherboard, and then we'll get it put in and take a great look at the BIOS and the AI suite utilities that come with it, and just all the great things that ASUS provides. Alright, once again, we'll just take a quick look at the box. You see it has the I, which is the theme, the little logo for the Republic of Gamers from ASUS. Of course, you have the name of the motherboard here, the Maximus VI Formula motherboard. It says it's designed for gamers, and that's about it directly on the front. On the inside, once again, you can see a little close-up of the ROG Armor. They talk about the SupremeFX, that's their audio chips, and they talk about the cross chill, all things that we'll go over once we get it open. And you can see the motherboard itself here. Again, the features on the back here, we talk about the CPU. It's the LGA 1150 socket for the 4th generation Intel Core i7, i5, and i3 and Pentium. It supports the 22nm CPU and Intel with Turbo Boost Technology 2.0. It's the Z87 Express chipset. The memory it supports, it's got a list of memory here, and of course there'll be more on the booklet inside. And I would always suggest, you know, new RAM, new memory comes out, and so always go to the website to verify that yours is supported. The expansion slots, it talks about 3 PCIe, Express 3.0 by 16 slots, and single at X16, dual at 8x8, and 3-way Crossfire at, oh, I lost my place, at 3 by PCIe 2.0 1 slots. So, and then the VGA is an integrated Intel HD graphics processor, HDMI with max resolution of 4K, and that's full 4K. That is not the actual upgraded 3K. This is 4096 by 2160 at 24 Hertz. So that is full 4K resolution, and not the just super high def, which is, I want to say, 3800 something. I can't remember offhand. There is a difference, and people call the 3800 4K when it's not. So multi-GPU technology, of course. It supports SLI and Crossfire, and then you've got your back panel I/O ports and everything. Either way, let's get right into it. Open it up. Of course, it comes with really 2 boxes inside the main box. One is, of course, the motherboard, and we'll take a better look at that in a moment. Alright, so inside the smaller box, of course, you're going to have all of your accessories, your booklet, your SLI bridges. It comes with the ASUS SATA cables, which are, of course, full 6 gigabyte. It looks like you have 2 packages of 2 in there. Comes with the little quick connectors, which I personally never use. I know a lot of people like them. I think they just make more stuff in the case, which detracts from the beauty of the case, in my opinion. You have these little label tags. You can write on them in here, and you can label your hard drive 1, hard drive 2, etc., things like that, so that you can keep up with it. And I imagine this is not something that many people are really going to use. I know I don't. I can keep up with which hard drive is which. I plug them in individually. Again, the SLI bridges, I don't think it actually comes with both of those. I don't remember which one it actually comes with. one came with another one of my motherboards. You have the black back I/O plate, and of course it has all your slots lined up ready to snap right into your case. It is insulated for sound and heat with a little bit of foam and the foil backing. Of course you have a booklet, user guide, very, very thorough, excuse me, and then of course all of the Maximus VI formulas, drivers, and all those things that come with, which most of that is going to need to be updated anyway, unless you bought it on day one. This particular motherboard comes with a couple of other interesting things. Here you have a little Wi-Fi antenna, and it's posable. It turns around. You can either, it's magnetic, so you can either just stick it right on the side of your case like that, or you can stick it to the top and turn it up, or even you can probably just leave it flat laying right on top, whatever works. And that screws into this little mPCIe little connector, which actually has multiple uses. I zoomed in for a little better look at it. This is the mPCIe combo, and it of course comes pre-installed with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi cards, but you can also install an M.2, the NGFF solid drives, or solid state drive. Alright, so here we have the ASUS Maximus VI Formula, still in its little box here. I took the plastic cover off. It just comes fitted a little bit. And it comes right out from the side. You just open it up. And then you have the motherboard. Alright guys, here we have the ASUS Republic of Gamers Maximus VI Formula, completely out of the box, ready to go. And I'm just going to go around and take a look at all the things that come on it. Of course, a lot of it is basic stuff, but there are some pretty unique features to this motherboard. And we can start with the back side. Full armor plating for the Republic of Gamers. They've incorporated the armor plating from their other line of motherboards. And it says Republic of Gamers right here, has the little eye icon. And pretty nice, pretty tough metal plating, so that of course the motherboard itself is more durable, and you can set it around. Of course it's, you know, quite a bit heavier than a standard motherboard because of that. And then flipping it over, you can see that the front has armor all the way around it, also covering most of the front of the board, pretty much leaving the only parts exposed where you're going to plug things in. So let's start at the top here and take a look. You can see pretty basic stuff. This is the 8-pin CPU connector, and there's a fan plug here. Right next to that is where you have this mPCIe combo connector. That is the little part I showed you a moment ago. This little part here for the Bluetooth and for the Wi-Fi, and of course that also does support the M.2 NGFF, and it says NGFF right there for the little solid state drive. You unscrew the front here, slide it in, snap it in place, screw it back down, and then this, you can see the little prongs here. They plug right into this piece here, and it actually plugs in kind of upside down like that, so that you can see the mPCIe Combo 2 from there. Moving around to the back side, some fairly basic things across the back. Of course, you have multiple USB ports. You have 4 USB 3.0 ports there, and another 2 down here next to the Ethernet connection. You have a display port connector, an HDMI port connector, and a digital audio out. You have all your regular audio ports here. And then at the top, we're going to take a look at the ROG Connect. That is where you can basically go to update BIOS. And the details are in the booklet. If you were to get it, you plug in to the one of these is labeled. When you hold that over it, you'll see that this one particular slot, that is the ROG Connect. And so you just plug in a USB flash drive and then hold the button, and it'll update the BIOS and put it on there, and you're good to go. We have the feature here across the front. This is the cross chill, and that is of course a air cooler for that, and also doubles as a water cooler. You pull out the little rubber plugs and you hook up your connections there and then plug in your hoses, include that in your loop, and you now have a water cooled motherboard. So I really like that a lot and hope to be able to use it soon in the future. Directly above the memory, and again this is the top of the motherboard, directly above the memory you have the Pro Belt here, and this is a really nice way to be able to test all your voltages and test your amperage across the motherboard, all the different features, without having to stab a multimeter into the side of the 24 pin or the 8 pin or anywhere else, or trying to make contact on other random parts of the board. Everything is here, everything is labeled, pretty much got everything you need, and of course all of that is referenced in the book so that you can know exactly which is which and what you're testing. Right next to that you have the LED Q code reader. This will signal you and give you an idea if you're having a problem booting or if it's hanging in a certain place. Anything like that, it'll tell you pretty much where to start looking. Flip it back around, we can see down the side. Alright, you've got a start button and a reset button. Those are pretty simple, just exactly what they sound like. It's basically a power switch and a reset switch. And then of course you have a little fan connector here, a couple more there. These are your CPU fan, this is your chassis fan too. So coming down the side from the power and the reset, you have the 24 pin power connector, your 19 pin USB 3.0 connector kind of hidden down in there. I don't know how well you can see that beyond the armor, but it's just inside there, pretty basic. And then you have 10 SATA 6 GB connectors, and they actually are in two different groups. You've got 6 here and 4 here, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then E1, E2, E3, and E4. Just below that you have the fast boot switch. This is on off for the ASUS fast boot. And just below that you have the direct key, which relates to these start and reset switch. If you're inside your case working on it, trying to get some overclocking, trying to get your everything dialed in just exactly right, and you keep having to reference the BIOS regularly, you just hit your direct key and it will take you, just like it sounds, directly to the BIOS, rather than having to spam the delete key during startup. Moving across the bottom of the board, you have pretty basic stuff here. You've got the little speaker, the little indicator speaker, the beep speaker. You've got your reset switch, your power switch, your HD LED, and then your optical drive LED. Right next to that is a fan, and then you have the direct plug just above it. You have a standard USB connector here, a couple more fans here in the center, the ROG extensions right between those. You've got the TPM and the Easy plug here. The Easy plug is basically a Molex plug to add more power to the motherboard. Then you have over here, you have the sound, the HD audio, SPDIF out. And then right around the side, you can't see it because of the armor, but just under here is the SupremeFX chip. You can kind of see it at an angle. Not much to look at though, it's basically just the audio chip. Now just a full overview, all the things which come normal on a board. Of course you have your 4 memory slots here, your socket LGA 1150 here, the Republic of Gamers LED right in the center with the eye lights up when it's all plugged in and on. You've got a nice heat sink here for this express chip right there. And then one thing to point out for these, you'll see the odd spacing on these PCIe X16. That's set up that way so that if you have 2 cards in Crossfire or in SLI, it leaves a little bit of room so they can breathe. I've seen other boards where they've got 3 or 4 and they're stacked right on top of each other. So if you have dual width cards, then there's no airflow really. They don't breathe, and I know a lot of people have those concerns. Those concerns are no longer valid with this board. The Maximus VI Formula leaves plenty of room between those so that you can use the number 1 slot and the number 2 slot without having to skip. I know a lot of people use the number 1 and number 3 because they want a little bit of room for air for the number 1 slot. But you no longer have to do that. And that, of course, brings us back around to the back where we started. So from here, let's just get the bad boy plugged in. I'll get it all hooked up and ready to go. Run all of our benchmarks on our full battery of test and get a good idea of exactly what this motherboard is capable of. Hey guys, welcome back. So I just wrapped up the review for the ASUS Maximus VI Formula motherboard. It's a full ATX motherboard. It's got the ROG theme, so it's red and black from ASUS. And I think it's obvious right from the beginning that it is going to be a great board. When I started the benchmarking, it exceeded all of my expectations, and in fact there were a few times when during benchmarking I had to stop and double take and look at things a second time and say, is that right? Because comparing it to other motherboards that we had benchmarked in the past, the numbers were so much higher, so much better, or lower if they were supposed to be lower, when lower is better. Latency and transfer speeds and things like that were stupendous. I mean, I think at one point I transferred a 5 GB file in just a couple minutes, as opposed to another motherboard we did a few weeks ago that took like 15 minutes. And I had to stop and look at it, and I ran it again because I was like, is this right? Is this possible that it actually makes that much difference, just the motherboard? Now, the fact is, for an average consumer, for a regular just gamer who just wants to turn their computer on and just play video games, then maybe the highest, most amazing top-end, enthusiast motherboard is not going to be for that person. And in all honesty, this motherboard is, not the best for me personally, even as a person who is fairly big enthusiast. I like to overclock and things like that, but I'm not doing custom water cooling. I'm certainly not playing with liquid nitrogen, and that's what these kinds of motherboards, that's what the ASUS Maximus VI Formula is really, really designed for. Inside the BIOS, you have so many features, so many options, so many choices that you can make for tweaking every little nuance, from voltages of things that most people have never even heard of, right down to, of course, DRAM speed, cache latency, your BCLK, of course, your ratio, things like that are just basic stuff. But I mean, it goes in depth, as you can see in the other part of the video that I did, which takes a look at the BIOS, and we took a look at the AI Suite 3, which comes with this particular motherboard, the ASUS Maximus VI Formula. And you can look at all that and just see you have so many options, and some of it's a little bit redundant. There are a lot of things that you can do in the BIOS that you can also do in the AI Suite. But that's nice to have. That's there for your preference. Again, this is a high-end, top-of-the-line enthusiast motherboard, and I think it's clear, even at this price point, that it deserves a Editor's Choice Award just for amazing quality, the build quality, the sound of that SupremeFX Formula. My surround sound system does not do it justice. I've just got regular, basic analog plug-in, like the 3.5mm jacks in the back of the motherboard. This thing deserves digital output, deserves much better than my little $80 surround sound system. That being said, the overclocking of this really is beyond what most of the Haswell processors are really capable of. Again, it's 1150 socket, so it works for the new Haswell chips. And I see most of those topping out around 4.4, 4.5. Sure, some people win the lottery, the silicone lottery, and I've seen some quite a bit higher. I saw one the other day, a guy had it on a water cooling loop, supposedly stable at 5, and I'm like, what? I can barely push mine to 4.4. That being said, this motherboard is the kind of motherboard that does that, and it does it with ease. Really great quality, another home run from ASUS. I was very happy to review it, and we appreciate you watching. Once again, I'm Steve Cox with High Tech Legion. Come join us over on our forums at www.hightechlegion.com. Get over on our Facebook page. Give us a like there, a little thumbs up. Tell us what you think. But, you know, try to be nice. Hey, remember, we're not professionals. I don't have, 10 videographers standing back here and professionals editing our videos. Hey, we're just some guys trying to give you the most honest, thorough, and complete reviews we can. And, of course, if you want to get regular updates from our Twitter feeds, follow us on Twitter, and we hope to see you there. Thanks.